Hello and welcome to part 2 of my Paul Walker movie rankings. Greg Calarco here, and in part 1 I ranked number 25 to 11 in terms of Paul Walker movies. Today I'm going to be giving you my top 10 PW movies of all time, and of course at this point it gets pretty tough. Any of these 10 could be my number one favorite on any given day, and really the top 20 for that matter could be my favorite on any given day. But here we go, top 10 Paul Walker movies of all time. Coming in at number 10, I've got the movie Joyride from 2001, and I want to read you the plot description of this movie on IMDb. Three young people on a road trip from Colorado to New Jersey talk to a trucker on their CB radio and then must escape when he turns out to be a psychotic killer. That's a pretty good description. Paul and his co-star Steve Zahn, they are on this road trip and they're kind of just messing with the trucker. They don't realize he turns out to be this insane, crazy stalker guy, and this is a thriller. It's a mystery. I was legit scared of this movie for quite a few months. I mean, it really took some time for me to kind of get used to it. Some of the cinematic aspects that are employed, very chilling, and it'll certainly send shivers down your spine. There's twists, there's turns. It's going to make you gasp at times, this movie. And that's why I've got it coming in at number 10, Joyride. All right, let's go to 2001 to 2014 for my number 9 film, and that is Brick Mansions. This is Paul's second to last movie. This is right in Paul's wheelhouse. It's an action movie. He is an undercover cop in Detroit sent to explore the very dangerous district that is Brick Mansions. His co-star in this one, David Bell, the creator of parkour, so there's lots of flips, lots of fun tricks, tons of action. It's kind of like Fast and Furious in terms of you end up rooting for the anti-hero in the end. It explores the difference between right and wrong, and like I said, this movie, all action, right in Paul's wheelhouse. Brick Mansions, it comes in at number 9. Now they start to get really good. At number 8, no pun intended, I've got 8 Below from 2006. And in part 1 of my movie rankings, I mentioned there were really 4 Paul Walker movies that are emotional tearjerkers. This certainly fits that category, very emotional. This is the third one of those 4. It's not so much action as it is adventure and drama. Paul plays an explorer in Antarctica, but he and his team, they have to go away during the winter. There's a really, really bad storm, so he's got to leave his 8 sled guide dogs behind, and he's really concerned about them. It was a total accident. They got left behind. Paul Walker's character the whole time is thinking about his dogs, his best friends, and I love the core values in this movie. It's a lot about friendship and family, and it shows how strong you can be when you're trying to accomplish something for the right reasons, for love. His perseverance in this movie is a thing to behold, and this is one of only 2 Disney movies that Paul Walker's in. It definitely fits that Disney billing. It is a great, touching film. Shows the friendship and love between Paul and his 8 snow dogs. All right, sticking with the emotional theme, at number 7 on my list, I've got Hours from 2013. In this one, Paul's character really has a struggle to keep his infant daughter alive during the wake of Hurricane Katrina. It takes place in New Orleans in a hospital, and it's very similar to 8 Below, very emotional. The final of those 4 tearjerkers, and again, we see the power of love. It's extremely powerful. You see Paul Walker, and honestly, I think this is his best acting performance ever. His character, it's so vulnerable. Everything about this movie is so raw, and I just think Paul commands the screen like he's done none other before. This is his best acting performance, in my opinion. Hours. It's extremely powerful. It's not a movie I can watch every day per se, like a Fast 5 or a Fast and Furious 6 or a She's All That. But this movie, it'll show you about the strength and love of his character and Paul. This is a perfect movie. Number 6 on my list, we go to the 2001 film, The Fast and the Furious. This is kind of really where it all began for Paul, the beginning of his stardom. This is where he's an undercover cop in the street racing world. We see his character, Brian O'Connor, meet up with Vin Diesel's character, Dominic Toretto. and there's kind of a charming simplicity to this movie. I rank it pretty highly, mostly for nostalgic reasons, but also because it kind of lays the framework, the foundations, obviously, for all the other Fast and Furiouses to come after it. But the relationships in this movie are great. Both Dom and Letty, and then Brian and Mia, those two relationships are awesome. Obviously, we see this at the beginning of the brotherhood between Dom and Brian as well. So you got to give it some love. Number 6 on my rankings, the OG, the original Fast and Furious. Coming in at number 5, we're really getting to the elite of the elite now, and this is Fast and Furious 4. Don't be confused, I know this is a 2 DVD set. I also have Tokyo Drift on this, but Tokyo Drift does not have Paul Walker, not part of my top 25 rankings. Don't be confused. This is all for number 4, Fast and Furious from 2009. And look, some people sleep on this movie for whatever reason. I don't know why, but this is kind of where the saga continues and picks up from 1. It goes straight to 4 then with Dom and Mia and Letty and everyone, because obviously 2 and 3 didn't have any of the original crew. But again, lays the foundation for 5, 6, and 7. And this one, what I love most about it is we see in 1 and 2 a little bit about Paul's character, Brian O'Connor, but we learn a whole lot more about him and really about the fabric of his character. We see how human his character is in this one. My favorite scene is with Paul and Jordana Brewster's character, Mia, when they're in the coffee shop and he's telling them, yeah, I'm sorry I lied to you, but I'm really good at lying. That's why the feds recruited me, yada, yada, yada. And then Mia goes, well, maybe you're lying to yourself. Did you ever think you're not the good guy pretending to be the bad guy? Maybe you're the bad guy pretending to be a good guy. And Paul goes, yeah, I think about that every day. And I think in that moment you see how vulnerable he is, how human he is. Paul, in pretty much most of these movies, he is a superstar in my eyes, in a lot of people's eyes, but his characters are very human nature. They have real world problems, and I think that's an issue. That's a struggle that many of us can relate to on a day-by-day basis. What is wrong? What is right? Are we doing things for the right reasons? That's all Brian O'Connor and his internal struggle. That's why I relate to it so much. That's why I love the 4th Fast and Furious movie. All right, switching pace a little bit, we're going to go to number 4 on my list, and that's She's All That from 1999. This is a high school film. Paul's back in high school, and he bets Freddie Prinze Jr.'s character that Freddie Prinze cannot turn any girl into the high school prom queen, so they make this bet. Paul Walker's character picks the girl. He picks the artistic outcast weirdo girl that nobody understands, Lainey Boggs, played by Rachel Lee Cook. And this movie, it's fun to see Paul's character here because it definitely has a dark side. This is the one movie you could classify Paul as the villain, and look, there's still a lot of comedy, a lot of romance, there's self-evolution, there's growth, and it's an all-star cast. You've got Usher, you've got a young Gabrielle Union, and you've got Dule Hill among many, so it's a fun cast, but Paul Walker plays the bad guy. Definitely fun. I recommend it. She's All That. All right, coming up on number 3 now, I've got Takers from 2010. This is my top non-Fast and Furious movie that Paul has ever been in. It is a heist movie. Think Italian Job mixed with The Killing, mixed with some aspects of Fast and Furious. But I spoke about the all-star cast with She's All That. This one really has an all-star cast. You've got Idris Elba, Chris Brown, T.I., Michael Ealy, Hayden Christensen. It's really just loaded with talent. Then Matt Dillon plays the cop who's hell-bent on stopping it all. But they're a group of bank robbers. They're trying to pull off the ultimate heist. Paul Walker's character, so cool, calm, and collected. And I like the theme of this movie. It's about these guys betting big, winning big. They want to risk it all, and they're willing to take it all. But sometimes that isn't always the best way to go about things. And you'll see it could come back to bite them in the butt. So I really like this one. Lots of action, lots of fun. Takers comes in at number 3. All right, finishing up with my top 2. Fast and Furious 6, number 2 on my list from 2013. This is the one, if you get them mixed up, that's based primarily in London and Europe. But Paul and Vin Diesel's character, Dom and Brian, they get the crew back together again because Dom's girlfriend, Letty, may still be alive. And I want to talk about this one with my number 1 movie as well. So I'm going to bring in now Fast 5 from 2011. And this is the one, they have the massive heist in Rio de Janeiro. against the very powerful drug lord. And the reason I put 6 and 5 ahead of any other Fast and Furious, ahead of any other Paul Walker movie, I think these two movies, they have the whole cast, unlike 1, 2, 3, 4. They add The Rock. They really have everyone come together. They have a huge climax. Both of the best scenes in 6 and 5 are the last scenes, the one on the 82-mile airstrip in Furious 6 and the one on the streets of Rio during the heist in Fast 5. But there's such a culmination with these two movies. Everything builds, and I could watch these two movies literally every single day of my life if I had to. I just think they're so well-rounded. The action, the romance, the comedy, the comic relief with Tyrese and Luda. 6 and 5, best Fast and Furious, best Paul Walker movies of all time. I don't think I could live without these two movies. So there you have it. Those are my top 10 Paul Walker movies of all time. Please leave a comment if you agree or disagree with any of my rankings. But yeah, thanks so much for watching, and I'll be back soon here on YouTube.